Good morning, everyone. Today I will be talking about developing proficiency in language, oral proficiency to be exact. Why is it not going over? There we go. Right, the goal of the educator is to make sure that students can communicate about different subjects. For example, when they are in an environment that they can get to their words while talking. So, for example, when uh, the student talks with his friends or go to a play club and, you know, get to speak to other students of different language, the student should be able to speak in that language almost fluently and not mix the language like English and Afrikaans. It should be about different topics, and that is the goal of an educator. The educator should give that student that space in class to develop that skill and the knowledge and the vocabulary in order to speak fluently in different areas. Right. So when we look at speaking, as I said before, they should be able to speak in different environments and they should be able to not go look up on information. Otherwise, you lose the content. No one will listen to you. Everyone will lose interest. Like, Achiri, this guy doesn't know what they are talking about. So you should be able to speak one language without saying, oh, what's that word again? It's the Afrikaans word of mooi. And then someone, by hope, in the group would know it means beautiful. The student must be able to speak the language fluently and be able to come up with the words with immediate effect. Now, some conversations can be formal, others not. It depends on the situation in which the student finds himself. If the student is, for example, in a classroom, or say, for example, at a formal event, the communication will be more formal. But when a student talks with their parents, it could be also a little bit of formal, but they are not going to come to their mother and father and say stuff that they would say in their group of friends. So it differs from environment where the student finds himself. In a group of friends, the student will speak more informally, like they will say words that doesn't make sense to us adults, but the group of friends does understand. Then another aspect when students are talking is we need to let them understand that non-verbal language also has an impact on what they are saying. So, say for example, they are excited about something. Say, for example, a gift that they got for Christmas, right? Or their birthday. If they talk about the gift, you can see a smile on their face, and people can see that they are quite excited about it. But say, for example, a student talks in your class and talks, or a student hurts another friend and he or she says sorry to the friend or to the teacher. You know, the face will tell a lot about how the student feels. So, for example, um, sorry. So, say for example, the student say sorry, but it's like sorry. The person will not actually see it as an apology. It will be like you are saying sorry just to say sorry. So non-verbal language, like the face and your gestures, is having a great impact on the conversation. Um, so that's one thing. You can, for example, if your friends are speaking, we need to learn them this, because I think some students struggle with that, is that sometimes they don't find something interesting that their friends are saying. And if the students are, talking to their friends, and their friends are talking to them about the situation that happened at home that quite is sensitive to the heart, and then the student actually wants to say something, like your ADHD student. It's like, I need to tell you this. And immediately that places a block on the other student who wants to tell a story, like this person is not interested. Even if you like, your face says you are interested, but you're like, okay, yeah, I hear you. That also plays a role in communication. So these are all skills that we have to teach our students. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to go over. Doesn't want to go over. There we go. Now, when we are in a class, we should encourage our students to speak in the target language. So, for example, our goal of this project was to let students, an Afrikaans student, teach an Afrikaans student to speak English. But this could mean even for the Zulu student or the Sotho student or whatever it is. It's difficult. It's difficult if you speak another language at home, come to school, and now you are placed in this area where you have to speak English. And it can get quite uncomfortable for the kids. So we have to find ways to encourage these learners to speak English. And one of the ways we can do it is when we are having free conversations in class, and I don't think there is a lot of time in the curriculum right now to have free conversations in the curriculum, in the class. Like free talk. There's not a lot of time. It's more like comprehension, language, 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 comprehension, language, language, language. And some teachers, educators, does not know how to incorporate the talking and the speaking in class. We have to encourage these students to make mistakes when they talk to their friends. When the student talks to us, we must not correct the student immediately. So say, for example, the student makes a mistake. For example, just makes a mistake. While the student is making the mistake, you let the student continue finishing the sentence, and you go back and you go and say that sentence over, but the correct way. That way, the student does not feel that you are criticizing. Sorry, let's just wait for that to end. I'm quickly going to pause the video. Right, let's continue. So that encourages them to make mistakes, and you don't fall into their sentence immediately and correct them. That will discourage them. They feel like they can't finish their sentence, and then the fear starts to say the sentence correctly because there is pressure. So no, we wait for the student to finish the sentence and correct the student afterwards. We must make sure that the student understands that they are allowed to make mistakes. They must know that when they make mistakes, that gives them room of area to do better, to become better in the language. Some students are perfectionists. They don't want to make mistakes. And they, for example, put a lot of pressure on themselves. So we have to, especially for that perfectionist student, explain to them that, you know what, it's fine. It's okay that you make a mistake. You can learn from this. This is a learning experience. This is not going to count marks. This has nothing to do with any of your marks. Don't be scared. Make mistakes. Um, it's never flawless. Guys, it's never flawless. If you look at your first additional language, your students that come from different backgrounds will never have flawless sentences unless a parent puts the child in an Afrikaans class, which we see lately a lot, but they speak the language English at home. So then maybe there you will see some flawless sentences, but we are all human and we all make mistakes. Okay. I just want to get that to the next slide. Come on. Okay. So we have to practice meaning with our students. And the way we can do it is by having conversations about a variety of situations. We can place our students kind of like in a role play. We can have debating. We can do a lot of things to get our students to practice different meanings and the different ways of using language. And the reason for this is we want them to be able to go into the world, have a good conversation, have hand-in-hand experience when they get to that situation, that they don't feel like an outcast or, quite unpopular. When we practice meanings, we have to also incorporate the syntaxes that we use in our language to be used in our conversations. Why else are they learning it, right? Then for group discussions, one of them to encourage them is by brainstorming. So for example, we can have, how can we have a good Christmas? How can we celebrate the best birthday ever? How can we make a sixth birthday? Let's plan a birthday. And then the students can brainstorm a little bit about ideas and they can talk informally about it. And we have to make sure, as an educator, as a facilitator of this, that the student speaks English and not their own language, because some students will tend to go back to their previous language that they know, because that is what they feel comfortable with. And then what we can do after dividing them in groups and they have their group discussions is we can get someone from each group to come and discuss with the class what they are, what they spoke about, what they brainstormed about. And the class can maybe also interact with that member and ask questions. And then some people from the other group could also answer some of the questions. But it is the teacher's job to motivate each member to answer questions. Otherwise, the students will say, not me, not me. That one can quickly go. Right, then debating. We have to, once again, divide students into groups. And then we can say, you are for school clothes, you are against school clothes. Let's go. Plot your ideas down and let's have a discussion with respect. Not the one talking over each other, but with respect, sharing our viewpoints on different topics. It could be a wide variety of topics, for pet or against pet, for school or against school. There's so many topics that we can have about this. It's quite crazy. Then we can, sometimes it can get quite hard. For example, when we bring in topics like for school clothes or against school clothes, it can be quite hard because views differ. And some of the students will be against school clothes because why? They would rather wear civvies to school. And then that group that gets for school clothes, they're going to have quite a harder time to motivate why school clothes are quite important. So, it's quite good to have a challenge on hand for the students. It makes them think and it makes them to get used to communicate in situations where it is not always easy. Right. I hope that this speech has maybe given you some ideas for the future. Um, and yes, you must enjoy your day and stay safe.